Okay, so let's jump right in. You've shared some really fascinating material with us. It tackles that thing so many English learners run into,
Hmm.
how to actually sound, well, natural, like yourself, but in English.
That's a super common thing, yeah.
Mm.
You can nail the grammar, build up loads of vocabulary, but still feel like, I don't know, your English comes across a bit stiff. Maybe not as fluid as you'd like.
Exactly. It's like you've got all the right Lego bricks, but the final thing doesn't quite flow. It feels a bit constructed. And this material really gets into why that happens.
Right.
It seems to suggest that grammar and words are, well, obviously crucial, but maybe we overlook the actual sound of English, the rhythm, the texture.
That's precisely it. Native speakers aren't just slotting words together based on rules. There's this whole other layer happening. Rhythm, stress, sounds linking together, even pauses. It's all part of making speech sound relaxed, spontaneous.
Kind of the secret sauce.
You could say that. It's often the stuff that doesn't get explicitly taught in textbooks,
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. We're going to take these techniques from the material you gave us and really break them down, try to get to the core of how you can use them to unlock that natural sound.
Yeah, pull out the key insights so you can actually apply them.
So we're focusing on 4 main areas based on the sources. First up, that music of English, the rhythm and intonation.
Mm-hmm. Then second, we'll look at those sound shortcuts native speakers use constantly, contractions and reductions, things like gonna and wanna.
Right. Third, and this one's interesting, why sounding natural sometimes means not being perfect, using filler words and pauses.
Yeah, the ums and ahs actually have a role.
And finally, something really powerful, how stressing different words in the same sentence can totally change the meaning. Sentence stress.
Absolutely crucial for clarity and sounding confident.
So the idea is, by digging into these 4 things, you'll get a much better handle on making your English smoother, more confident, more you, essentially.
Exactly. It's about letting your personality shine through, not just reciting words, adding that color in life.
All right, let's tackle that first one then. The material really emphasizes this as foundational. The music of English, rhythm and intonation. Why is this so important?
Well, it's fascinating because English rhythm is different from many other languages. It's not spoken like a machine gun, with every syllable getting equal time or weight.
Right.
Instead, it has this distinct beat. Think of it like music, really. Some beats are strong, some are weak. In English, some syllables and words get stressed.
Meaning they stand out more?
Yeah, they're clearer, maybe a bit louder or longer, or the pitch changes on them. And then, whereas the unstressed ones, they get squeezed. They're said faster, softer. Sometimes the vowel sound even changes, gets reduced.
The music analogy in the source material is perfect. Like, in a song, you don't hammer every single note with the same force. You've got the main beat and then these lighter, quicker notes filling the gaps.
Exactly. If you played every note equally loud and long, it wouldn't sound like music. It'd sound robotic.
Monotonous.
Yeah. And English speech is the same. If you give every single word the exact same emphasis, you lose that natural pulse. It sounds unnatural.
Okay, let's use the main example from the material. The sentence is, I really wanted to go, but I was too busy.
Right. Now imagine saying that, giving every word equal importance, like, I really wanted to go, but I was too busy.
Oof. Yeah, you can hear it immediately. It's perfectly clear word by word, but it sounds
Stiff.
robotic.
Totally. It lacks that flow.
But now, listen to how the material shows the natural rhythm. I really wanted to go, but I was too busy.
Okay. Big difference.
Huge difference. You hear wanted and busy pop out. Those are the stressed words, the strong beats. But the little ones around them, I gotta go, but I was too... they're kind of rushed, compressed, said much quicker, less distinct.
So it's like peaks and valleys. The stressed words are the peaks. The unstressed ones are the valleys in between. That's a great way to put it. And that up and down is what creates the natural rhythm, the bounce.
And it's not just about being louder, is it? Stress can be pitch or length.
It's a mix. Often higher pitch, maybe a slightly longer vowel sound. Definitely more clarity compared to the unstressed bits. The key thing is that unevenness. Not every word gets the spotlight.
And the material suggests there's a logic to it, like which words get stressed isn't random.
Generally, yes. The words carrying the main, meaning nouns, main verbs, adjectives, adverbs. Those are your usual suspects for stress. They're called content words.
Okay.
And the little grammatical words, prepositions, articles, conjunctions, helping verbs like is, am, are, the, a2, But those function words are usually unstressed. They just help connect the important bits.
So learning to spot the content words helps you predict the rhythm.
It does. It gives you a map of where the stress is likely to fall.
Let's try the practice examples from the source. First one, I can't believe it. Stress on can't.
Right. And think about why can't is stressed there.
Well, it's emphasizing the impossibility, right? The disbelief.
Exactly. The core of the message is the negation. I cannot believe this. That's the emotional punch. If you stress believe, instead, I can't believe it, it shifts slightly. Maybe like, I know it happened, but the act of believing is hard. But stressing can't is the classic way to show pure surprise.
Got it. Okay, second one. That's a great idea. Stress on great.
Same principle. You're highlighting the key quality.
The positiveness of the idea.
Precisely. It's not just any idea, it's a great one. That's the focus of your enthusiasm. Stressing idea, that's a great idea, might imply you're comparing it to something that wasn't an idea, which is less common. Stressing great emphasizes the quality.
This feels like something you could really practice actively. Like, take these examples. I really wanted to go, but I was too busy. I can't believe it. That's a great idea. And actually say them out loud.
Yeah.
Really exaggerate the stressed words and let the others fall away. Feel the difference.
That conscious practice is key. You start to internalize the feeling, the beat, and it makes a huge difference. Your English sounds more expressive, more dynamic, just more confident because you're using the natural flow.
Okay, so getting that rhythm down is step one. Now, the next technique from the material seems like the logical follow-up. It's about the shortcuts native speakers use that really help create that flow. Contractions and reductions.
Ah, yes. This is a big one. Learners are often, taught to pronounce E very word very clearly, which is fine, maybe essential at the beginning.
Sure, for clarity.
But in real, everyday connected speech, at a normal pace, native speakers are constantly mashing words together, shortening things.
And it's not just being sloppy, right? The material implies it's functional.
Absolutely. It's about efficiency. It takes less effort, less time, and crucially, it helps maintain that rhythm we just talked about. If you pronounce every single syllable distinctly, it kind of breaks the flow.
Makes sense. So let's look at the main example from the source. I'm going to call her, pronounced fully.
Right. I am going to call her. Perfectly grammatical, but maybe a bit formal, or like you're speaking very deliberately.
Yeah, but the natural, casual version.
The material shows it as, I'm going to call her.
Okay, let's break that down. I am becomes I'm. That's a standard contraction. Most people know that one.
Yep, but then going to doesn't just stay going to, it reduces to gonna.
Ah, gonna. That's a reduction, not just a contraction. Sounds are changing or disappearing.
Exactly. It happens because going to is usually followed by a verb, and the sounds just blur together in fast speech. The ing sound often softens or drops before the T, and the vowel in to shrinks to almost nothing. Gonna. Super common.
Okay, and the material gives more examples of these reductions, like, I don't know.
Which already has the contraction don't. But often, especially informally, it gets squished even more too.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. The vowel in don't kind of fades, the T often vanishes before the K sound. It's just faster, smoother.
Okay, another one. Give me a second.
Give me a sec.
Gimme. So the V sound in give disappears into the M of me.
Pretty much, gimme becomes gimme.
Right.
And yeah, a second often gets clipped to a second formally. Little shortcuts.
And let me think.
Becomes let me think.
Let me. Similar pattern. The T in let changes or disappears before the M.
Right. It's often a very quick stop sound, not a full T. These aren't mistakes. They're just what happens when sounds meet each other in fluent speech. Predictable patterns.
The material had those fun quiz examples too. First one, I do not want to go there. How does that transform?
Okay, applying the natural patterns.
Yeah.
It usually becomes, I don't want to go there.
Right, so do not contracts to don't. Want to reduces to wanna. Can you explain wanna?
Wanna is another huge one, just like gonna. The T sound at the end of want tends to disappear when to follows it, and the vowel in to reduces. So you get wanna.
So in I don't want to go there, you've got both a contraction and a reduction.
Exactly. Working together. Very typical.
And the next quiz one was even more dramatic. What do you think about this?
Yeah. The natural version sounds like, what do I think about this?
Whoa, what, duh. That's like 3 words becoming one small sound. How?
It's a great example of sounds linking and reducing. The T at the end of what, especially in American English, can turn into a quick ood sound when it's followed by a vowel sound, like the reduced vowel in do.
Okay.
Then do you often reduces significantly. The vowel in do gets weak, and the y sound from you links onto that id sound. So what do you
It really
do?
flows differently. Compare what do you think to
Right.
what a think.
It's so much faster.
Night and day, isn't it? And these follow patterns. You don't need to be a linguistics expert, but just knowing the common ones, keen, gonna, gimme, maybe, when you what, maybe kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
And listening for them, maybe trying them out in informal situations, it instantly makes you sound more natural, like you've learned the secret handshake. It really is about picking up those patterns. Using contractions and these reductions where it feels right makes your English sound so much smoother. Less like reading, more like talking.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on from the sounds of words themselves, the material also brings up something that might seem weird at first if you're aiming for perfect English.
Yeah.
Filler words and pauses.
Right. This feels almost liberating because it pushes back against that idea that you have to speak in these flawless, nonstop sentences. The source says native speakers just don't do that all the time.
They really don't. And actually, trying to eliminate every single pause, every or can make you sound less natural, maybe too rehearsed, or even kind of abrupt.
So fillers and pauses actually do something useful.
Yeah, they serve real functions. They make speech sound more human, less like a script. And importantly, they buy your brain a crucial second or two to think about what to say next without just awkward silence.
It's like thinking out loud almost.
Exactly. If someone asks you something complex, you rarely have the perfect answer instantly, right? You might go, or, well, that's natural.
The material lists some common fillers.
Yeah, the classics, like, well.
Which you often use when you're pausing to think or maybe introducing something slightly different. Like, well, I see what you mean, but...
Spot on. And then there's,
Oh, that's everywhere. It can be like checking if the listener gets it. It was tough, Or just bridging thoughts. It was cold, really biting cold.
Very versatile. Another big one.
I use this often to clarify something I just said, right? We need to adjust the plan. The core idea is good, but the timeline.
Perfect example. It signals clarification or elaboration. And the source also mentions like, which is super common informally, sometimes just as a hesitation marker, sometimes to introduce an example or reported speech.
Okay, now the materials has this great comparison. The direct statement, I don't agree.
Clear as day.
Yeah.
Grammatically fine.
But potentially blunt. Maybe even a bit confrontational depending on the tone and context.
It can be, yeah. Now compared to the softer, more natural version from the source, well, I kind of see your point, but...
Totally different feel.
Isn't it? The well buys thinking time, signals a considered response. Shows you're refining your thought. And I kind of see your point, but acknowledges the other person before you disagree.
So the fillers plus that hedging kind of make it sound less like a direct attack and more like a contribution to the conversation, more thoughtful.
Exactly. It feels more like a real-time processing of ideas, not just a preformed judgment.
Let's look at the practice example too. Direct. I think this is wrong.
Again, very clear, but maybe a bit strong. The more natural version suggests it is, well, I think this might not be right.
Okay, how did the additions change it?
Well, gives that pause, brings the listener in subtly. And then swapping is wrong for might not be right.
Softens it considerably, adds a bit of uncertainty or politeness.
Precisely. It shifts from sounding like you're stating a hard fact, this is wrong, to sharing a more tentative opinion. I'm thinking this might not be quite right. It's just more conversational, more relaxed.
So counterintuitively, learning to use these little imperfections, the fillers, the pauses, actually makes you sound more natural in conversation, not less.
In many situations, absolutely. Don't be terrified of an occasional or well. They're part of the toolkit.
Okay, great. So we've covered rhythm, contractions, reductions, fillers, pauses. The final technique from the material is, well, it feels incredibly powerful. How sentence stress changes meaning.
This is where the real subtlety comes in. The material shows brilliantly how just changing which word you emphasize in a sentence can completely flip the meaning, even if the words themselves stay exactly the same.
This seems so important for being understood correctly and for sounding confident because you're conveying exactly what you mean.
Absolutely. If you stress the wrong word, you might send a completely different message by accident.
Okay, let's dive into the main example from the source. The sentence is, I didn't say she stole the money. Simple sentence.
Simple words, yes. Now let's play with the stress, like in the material. First up, I didn't say she stole the money. Stress on didn't stress.
Okay, I didn't say. What does that imply?
The source explains it means someone else said it. You are strongly denying doing the saying. The focus is on you and your non-action. Hey, don't blame me for saying that.
Got it. Okay, variation 2. I didn't say she stole the money. Stress on say.
Now the focus shifts. According to the source, this implies, I only hinted at it, you're contrasting the act of saying it directly with maybe implying it or writing it or gesturing it. The focus is on the method of communication.
Wow, that's subtle. Same words, just shifting the stress one word over. Okay, third variation. I didn't say she stole the money. Stress on she.
And here, the source says the meaning becomes someone else stole it. By stressing she, you're pointing away from her as the culprit. The focus is on who did the stealing, and you're saying it wasn't her.
That's amazing. The exact same words, same order, but 3 completely different implications depending on whether you stress didn't say or eshi.
It really highlights how much meaning is carried in the way we speak, not just the words we choose. It's like vocal punctuation.
It guides the listener to what's important or what's being contrasted.
Exactly.
Let's try the practice example from the source. She didn't call him. Base sentence.
Okay, first variation. She didn't call him. Stress on she.
So stressing she, according to the source, that means someone else called him. Or maybe it was specifically her who didn't call, implying someone else did or should have. The focus is on her versus others.
Right. You're singling her out. Now, variation 2. She didn't call him. Stress on didn't.
Stressing didn't, the source says, emphasizes the negative, meaning she never called, the call simply didn't happen. It confirms the lack of action.
Correct. A straightforward denial or confirmation of non-action. And the last one, she didn't call him. Stress on call.
And stressing call, the source suggests, implies she texted him instead, or emailed, or sent a carrier pigeon, whatever. The point is, the communication method wasn't a call.
Exactly. You're contrasting the type of action.
3 different scenarios from the same simple sentence, just by moving the stress.
It's incredibly powerful. Getting a handle on this, consciously putting stress on the word that carries your intended focus, makes your communication so much clearer.
And you feel more confident when you know you're getting your specific point across accurately. It takes practice, listening for it, trying it out.
But the payoff in clarity is huge. It's a key part of really mastering spoken English.
Okay, wow. We've really dug deep into this material, pulling out these 4 really practical techniques. It feels like it shifts the focus from just vocabulary lists and grammar rules to the actual sound and feel of English.
Yeah, we've extracted these key insights that can make a real difference in how you come across.
So just to recap quickly. First, nailing that natural rhythm and intonation, the music of English, the stressed and unstressed beats, gets you away from sounding flat.
Remember the beat. Second, using those common shortcuts, contractions, and reductions like gonna, wanna, lemme makes your speech smoother, faster, more connected.
Third, learning to use filler words and pauses strategically, well, not as mistakes, but as tools to sound relaxed by thinking time and soften things.
Right, embracing the natural hesitation. And fourth, mastering sentence stress, understanding that where you put the emphasis changes the meaning, giving you precision and confidence.
It really feels like adopting these is about getting the authentic patterns down, the pus of the language.
Yeah.
Moving beyond just correctness to sounding natural. Like so.
And the material implicitly suggests practice is key. You don't have to tackle all 4 at once. Maybe just pick one thing that jumped out at you today.
Yeah. Like what?
Like maybe just focus on the rhythm of a few sentences you use often. Or consciously try using gonna instead of going to in a casual chat. Or take that sentence, she didn't call him, and practice saying it 3 times, stressing a different word each time, just to feel it.
That makes sense. Small steps. And the source material's focus on examples suggests listening is key, but maybe also recording yourself. Is that helpful?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It can feel a bit cringy at first listening back to yourself,
Yeah.
but it's incredibly revealing. Just record yourself talking for a minute about your day or reading something short. You'll immediately hear things like your rhythm, maybe where you hesitate, or if you're using reductions. It's a fast track to self-awareness.
Okay, good tip. And one more technique, kind of implied by listening to native examples in the source, is shadowing. What's that?
Shadowing is great. You basically listen to a short clip of native speaker, maybe 10, 20 seconds from a movie, a talk, anything, and you try to speak along with them, copying everything as closely as possible in real time.
Like being their shadow.
Exactly. You mimic their rhythm, their pitch changes, their contractions, pauses, stress, everything. It forces your mouth and brain to produce those natural patterns. It's intensive, but very effective.
Okay, so these techniques from the sources are really practical tools for the how to make the sounds more natural, get the music right.
Yeah, they address the mechanics of sounding fluent.
But thinking beyond the material a bit, as you get better at the sound, a different challenge can pop up in actual conversations, right? You might nail the sentence stress, use gonna perfectly, have great rhythm, but then the conversation takes a turn and you just freeze. You don't know what to say next to keep it flowing naturally.
Ah, yes, the bridge between sounding natural and actually maintaining a natural conversation.
Exactly. What skills do you need beyond just making the right sounds to handle those moments? To connect your well-sounded thought to the next one smoothly, especially when you're put on the spot. How do you keep the conversation going naturally, not just sounding natural in short bursts?
That's a really interesting question. It touches on conversational strategies, active listening, maybe even cultural nuances, things beyond pure pronunciation and rhythm.
Definitely something to chew on as you practice all these techniques for improving the sound. The sound is crucial, but it's part of a bigger picture.
Absolutely. Sound is the foundation, but conversation is the whole building.
Food for thought. Well, keep practicing. Keep listening.
Until next time.